My name is Brad Taylor. This is the Baptist Society of Raleigh. Today's Wednesday, January 10th, 2024, if you can believe that. Hope you all had a really fantastic holiday. That you enjoyed your family or friends or whatever you're doing. Today we have a special guest from UNC Business School. His name is Professor Mark McNeilly. He's going to be talking about artificial intelligence. And I'm going to let him introduce some other things, and he's going to talk to us, and we'll take some Q&A after that.
Thanks, Brad. It's good to be here. Appreciate you taking the time. So I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence, capitalism, and humanity. And what I'm going to really be talking about a specific type of AI, which is called generative AI, which is, I think people were introduced through ChatGPT. So generative AI, it's a major milestone that has really far-reaching implications and applications, right? So implications is what it can do to us. Applications is how we can use it. And generative AI is different than the typical AI you see, right, which is sort of behind the scenes in search and Google, in that it can interact directly with us, and it can more clearly and closely replicate humans. And these changes not only affect humanity, but also society and individuals as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm really here to talk about and thinking about how do we holistically deal with these applications and implications of generative AI. So a little bit about me. I'm a professor at Keenan Flagler's. I've been that since 2006. Prior to that, I spent the majority of my career in the corporate world, primarily with IBM, 5 years then at the end with Lenovo. I was a corporate executive. So I've been in the tech industry for many, many years. Been a Fast Company blogger. It was my interest in technology and then also higher ed and teaching that when I first saw ChatGPT about a year ago now, that I was quite impressed, and I sent an email to our provost, who is sort of like the second in command of the university, and said, hey, we really need to figure this out, which led to us forming the UNC Generative AI Committee, which I co-chair. I've written a few books with Oxford University Press, and two of them are on Sun Tzu's Art of War. Anyone familiar with Sun Tzu's Art of War? Anyone? Okay, some hands, some nods. So I was asked to be on a History Channel Art of War special, so if you're ever up late at night and see a guy that looks like this, that's me. As I mentioned, I am the co-chair with Dean Stan Ahalt from the School of Data Science and Society of the UNC Generative AI Committee. That's a committee that represents all 15 academic units of the university, and we've been responsible for putting together the policies of its student use and faculty use, as well in teaching and research, as well as staff use. And now we're continuing to work on what is the strategy for generative AI and AI overall for UNC. So what I'm going to do is do a little bit of an introduction to generative AI, talk a little bit about what you can do with it. You may not be able to see some of the slides because it's a little bit small on the screen, but I'll explain it. Talk about the upsides and downsides of generative AI, and then where we are going forward, which I think is still TBD. And then we'll open it up for some questions. So a few questions. How often have you personally used ChatGPT? How many people use it daily? Okay. This table, basically. Okay, how many use it 2 to 3 times a week? Okay, how many of you only use it a few times? Okay, how many have not used it at all? Okay, great. What most describes your feelings about ChatGPT, AI overall in the future? So very excited, okay. Mildly interested. It won't matter much. We have a disbeliever in the crowd. Somewhat scared and very terrified. Okay, you can be both excited and terrified. That's kind of what I am. I start in the morning, I'm very excited, and by the end of the day, I'm terrified. So it's always already, of course, been in the news, right? Bill Gates says it's like the internet. People have talked about it as important as the discovery of fire. Microsoft is going to integrate, and I'll show you what that looks like, with what they're going to do with something called Microsoft 365 Copilot, integrating it with Office and Outlook and Teams. There's been tons of billions of dollars poured into this AI race. It's changing the way we work, changing the way we recruit. It's going to change the way we interact with each other. And of course, it also raises the possibility of extinction. So in the business school, we don't quote Vladimir Lenin very much, but this was one of his good quotes. Usually that gets a laugh, but apparently not in Boston. There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen, and that really was kind of what happened with ChatGPT, right? It came out, you can see it took Netflix 3.5 years to get to 1 million users, Airbnb 2.5 years, and ChatGPT hit that, I think, in 5 days, yeah. And it's now gotten to 100 million users. It's way over 100 million users now, right? So this is kind of what ChatGPT looks like, right? Very simple, like the Google screen. You put in your text there. It can give you some potential quotes. Very simple. You got a couple options between ChatGPT 3.5, which is free, and ChatGPT 4, which is $20 a month, which is what I pay for. It's definitely worth it. How does it work? It's trained on how people speak and write. Put into what's called a large language model, which in ChatGPT's case is 500 billion words of primarily books and internet scrubbing. It predicts what word comes next. So just think of it as autocomplete on steroids. So if you said, please go open the blank, it could either fill in door or window or envelope. It really depends. And GPT stands for generative, so it generates just like Genesis, right? It creates, pre-trained on all these 500 billion words, and Transformer is a particular architecture. It is one of many large language models. It is biased and is wrong because it's trained on human content, and we are biased and wrong. And it's also trained by humans. So you can see on the slide where primarily the data are straight from the web. Some of it's curated, some of it's booked. And then it goes through a process called reinforcement learning human feedback. So there's people in Kenya making it against $3 a day that look at the answers and say, hey, this is a good answer, this is a bad answer, and then it trains it to provide a better answer over time, right? It does hallucinate. Hallucinate's a term for when AI makes things up. ChatGPT 3.5 was around 15 to 25%. ChatGPT 4 now is down to around 3%. It will make up things like inventing a sexual harassment scandal about a professor. That wasn't me, so I didn't have to explain that. So it can make things up, right? And so you could Google yourself or ask ChatGPT about yourself and see what it says. It kind of has some true things and some things it makes up. So you have to think about what am I using it for in terms of what kind of things I'm going to get back. There's a company behind it called OpenAI. So OpenAI is a newcomer. It's the ones that created ChatGPT. Basically, it's a 400-person company. They're in San Francisco. Essentially, they're really about how can we, OpenAI, be the first to artificial general intelligence, right? And I'll explain a little bit more what artificial general intelligence is. It was originally created to protect against AI taking over humanity, and somewhere along the way, it morphed into a company that is trying to advance AI as quickly as possible. So, kind of interesting. It was originally nonprofit, but now it's created a for-profit arm because it couldn't actually do what it wanted to. It couldn't basically build the servers and the compute power and the algorithms and the large language models it needed to without investment that provided investors a return on investment. It's run by this guy Sam Altman, interesting guy, typical Silicon Valley guy, dropped out of college, came out of Stanford, made $43 million on his first startup, ran Y Combinator, which is a big startup place in the Silicon Valley. He has a utopian vision of an AI future in which AI does pretty much everything, and we get to decide what we want to do. We get to either sit around and play video games or raise children or whatever it is that we decide to do, maybe work if we want to. And then he was, because of this position, because he's also of the view that, hey, this could either be a wonderful future or it could kill us. And he tweets about both are possibilities. And so he was fired and then rehired like over a weekend by his board because the board was very much concerned, I'll talk about this, about the acceleration of AI, because that's what originally it was founded for, and Altman is all about accelerating AI, right? So he was fired, about 700 out of the 735 employees threatened to quit, so the board was basically fired, and he came back. So artificial general intelligence, so artificial narrow intelligence is what you have now, right? The ability for artificial intelligence to do very specific tasks as good as or better than humans. It is moving towards artificial general intelligence, where it can do pretty much everything we do as well as us, and then from there goes to artificial superintelligence, where it does everything better than us, right? And ChatGPT, people are seeing as a step towards artificial general intelligence because it can do many, many things, right? Artificial or generative AI is, as I said, a specific type of AI that, and ChatGPT is one of them, but there are several different flavors of it. So you can put in text and get back text, you can get back images, you can get back video, you can get back code. So there's many, many different types of tools, and in that slide you can see, there's just tons of applications, more coming out every day, that fall into these very different categories of generative AI, but it basically generates output from human input, right? We're going to talk a little bit about the upside and downside of generative AI. Kranzberg's first law, he has 6 laws of technology. He said technology is neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral, right? So there's going to be some winners and there's going to be some losers in this process, just like there always is with technology. So the upsides of generative AI is productivity, right? They're seeing some huge productivity gains with it. It can actually improve your creativity. It is quite creative itself, which people did not expect AI to be. Could increase our gross domestic product, give it access to knowledge at very, very low cost for people that are not well off but have a smartphone. And theoretically, it could solve humanity's most complex problems. So DeepMind, which is a subsidiary of Google, that is their AI component, basically, that's in the driver's seat for creating AI for Google. Their mission statement is basically first step 1, get to artificial superintelligence. Step 2, solve all humanity's problems. I mean, that's seriously their mission statement. What ChatGPT does well, you can see I've got a Swiss Army knife, but a huge one, right, with many, many tools in it. It answers questions. You have to be aware of biases and hallucinations. It writes, it codes, it summarizes, it explains concepts, brainstorms, translates languages. It does many, many, many things, right? I'll just talk about some of these. So there's email examples. So you can write in there like, hey, create a welcome letter for someone that's coming in my department. Give the person's name and what they're going to be doing, and it'll spit the whole thing out, right? And all you need to do is copy and paste that into your email. You can build a PowerPoint presentation. So you can say, in this case, I said build a sales presentation. So it gave me the headlines for 8 slides, and I can just ask it, so for every slide, can you then build out the bullets on each slide, and then give me the notes for each of those, right? And then I can transfer that into a PowerPoint slide. You can create a meeting agenda, right? So you just ask, say, here, hey, give me the purpose and agenda for the meeting where I want to accomplish this, and it will spit that out, and you can edit it, and it's very, very fast. It's very, very complete, right? So it saves you a lot of time trying to think about stuff initially. Outlining an article, so you want to write an article, just say, here's the article that I want to write. It's also good for brainstorming ideas for articles as well, right? So that's great. Advice, you can ask it for advice. So if you have a conflict with a coworker, you can ask it for advice on how to handle that coworker, or a conflict with a spouse or family member. Not that you ever have those. But it'll give you advice on how to handle that, right? Handle that appropriately. And actually probably will role play with you as well if you ask it, if you prompt it correctly. It has a nice little too long don't read function where you can put in an article and it'll give you the bullets of it. It's very handy for if you want to create a slide about an article and you put in the article and say, give me the 5 highlights of this article, and it'll pop those out. You can do product design with it. So one of the things we ask our students in the business school is to design new products. And it usually takes them several weeks and teams doing this. So Bing Chat, which is Microsoft's version of search, powered with ChatGPT, because Microsoft owns the majority of OpenAI. So they have a relationship with Microsoft and OpenAI are like this, right? So they take all of OpenAI stuff and they integrate it into their products. So they've integrated into their search engine called Bing. And it's now called 365 Copilot, which is extremely confusing. And I'm so sorry, it's called Copilot. And so here I said, hey, look up the latest trends in men's dress shoes, show me a picture of men's dress shoes you think will be trendy. So it gives me some of the different trends, talks about the different shoes, and then it actually generates pictures of the shoes, right? And then, you don't like those shoes?
Those shoes are horrible.
Well, I'll make some other shoes in 5 seconds. This doesn't take, so I'll just say, Jenna thinks these shoes are horrible, maybe some other ones, and it'll do that. Wow, that's the first time we had a critic in the shoe. Most women love those shoes. So I said, give me some brand names. So it gives me some brand names, right? Sway, Lush, Zest, right? So, and I can ask it to generate, hey, give me more brand names, right? I can ask it to create logos. These logos, I do not like these logos, but you can just keep generating logos and get some ideas, right? Very, very fast, very, very complete, many, many different capabilities. It has new image capabilities. It actually can now, what they say, see and hear you, right? So you can put in pictures of things and it will recreate them, or it will summarize the pictures or tell you what a meme means. For those that are meme illiterate, it will also, you can also speak to it, right? And it will respond as well. There's something called custom GPTs, which is really cool. So you can create your own GPT, generate a pre-trained transformer for specific tasks. So this one has Santa, where if you want to get gifts for someone, you can create them to do all kinds of things. For example, one here is negotiation. So it's primed. You set it up when you create it. It takes 15 minutes. There's no programming. Very easy to do. And you can feed in data with through PDFs to really prime it and specialize it. You need ChatGPT-4 to do it. But yeah, so it'll be specialized to do specific tasks and really focus on doing those tasks well. Right? When you look at who some of the competitors for OpenAI is the one up in the upper left, OpenAI behind ChatGPT. There's Anthropic, which is very much like ChatGPT-4. There's Character AI, which is very interesting. It has many, many different characters, like the psychologist or Elon Musk. And what people do is, of all 6 of these, they come to Character AI and they spend the most time on there. So they might come to Character AI and spend 20 minutes with that, but may only spend 5 minutes with all the other ones, right? They actually interact with it. So keep that in mind as we get to a little bit longer. There's Bing, which is ChatGPT inside of Microsoft Search. There's Bard, which is Google's attempt. There's Grok, which is now Elon Musk's attempt. Right? You can see, it's probably a little bit hard for you to see the quality here, but Midjourney, which is an image generation tool. You can see here how much it's improved over time, over a very short period of time. So these things are just getting better exponentially, quickly. Lots of productivity and value that they're adding. It's improving your speed with code, with editing video, with responding on illnesses. Chatbots are going to be a big thing. You're going to replace a lot of probably customer service workers. So lots of ways they're starting to add value already. So they really give you boosts in 3 specific areas. They give you access to knowledge if you understand what it is you're trying to get and you're using it appropriately. They can help you be more creative and more productive. So let me give you who likes Ryan Reynolds here? Okay. Yeah, so Ryan Reynolds used it, so he owns a phone company, so Mint, and he used it to just write an ad.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile. We're always looking for ways to save you money. So this year, we're kicking things off with an ad that I created using ChatGPT, the AI technology. This is what I asked it to write. I said, write a commercial for Mint Mobile in the voice of Ryan Reynolds. Use a joke, a curse word, and let people know that Mint's holiday promo is still going, even after the big wireless companies have ended theirs. This is what it wrote. Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here. First of all, let me just say Mint Mobile is the shit. But here's the thing. All the big wireless companies out there are ending their holiday promos, but not Mint Mobile. We're keeping the party going because we're just that damn good. Give Mint Mobile a try. And hey, As an added bonus, if you sign up now, you'll get to hear my voice every time you call customer service. Just kidding, that's not really a thing. Stay classy, everyone. That is mildly terrifying, but compelling.
Okay. Let's see.
Hey, it's Ryan.
Okay. You can't see this very well, but basically it's going to be used a lot for diagnoses and prescriptive, basically in healthcare, right? So it's going to be very useful in healthcare for ensuring doctors have considered the range of possibilities for an illness. So you can put in symptoms and it can give you different illnesses as well as and also you put in data about yourself, right? What your age is, et cetera, your sex, and then offer a treatment plan. Real estate agents are using it a lot to write copy, right? To punch up the marketing that they do, but a lot of it really comes down to their prompts, right? How well you can prompt. And so so what you need to do is you need to really ask the right question, right? Roger Bacon, who was sort of the founder of the scientific method, said to ask the proper question is half of knowing, right? For example, this was an AI prompt that said salmon in the river, right? And you can see it gives you prepackaged salmon. So you got to be very careful. Think about how you prompt properly, right? It's becoming very important in terms of people being hired. They're called prompt engineers. The ability to prompt very well is getting people hundreds of thousands of dollars a year jobs. And the thing you think about it, it's almost like, I use the word conjuring used for useful prompts because it's essentially you're sort of casting a spell here, right, in the text box. And what you need to have is domain knowledge. You still need to have domain knowledge, right? I think you need to understand the subject that you are asking the question about to ask the right question. You need time practicing prompting. You just basically, the more time you spend with this, the more you will understand how it works and an understanding of the model that you're using. It's going to be integrated into a host of popular applications. I'll show you what it's going to look like inside of Office soon, but every software company has to be looking at how do I integrate large language model capability into my software. So Salesforce, you just go down the list, they're all looking at it, right? And billions of dollars are being put into that. And you can see, it's a little bit hard here to see, but the vast majority of money that's going into venture capital for this is coming from the big three, and it's going into, so coming from Microsoft, Google, and Amazon into Anthropic, OpenAI, and Inflection, and then a whole bunch of other ones, right? And this slide basically shows where the money's coming from. So Amazon, Google, Salesforce, NVIDIA makes the chips, and Microsoft going into all these different recipients, Anthropic, DeepMind, Hugging Face, Runway, OpenAI, et cetera, right? So a lot of money is being shifted from the established vendors into these new startups. So now what I want to show you is I've talked about Microsoft integrating ChatGPT capabilities into Office and Teams, et cetera. So I'm going to show you a quickie video that I think brings this to life. So I showed that to my MBA students, they're like, what am I gonna do? It also, Microsoft is looking at adding an AI key to the keyboard, so it's actually going to be getting integrated into the hardware. So we'll see how that works. I'm not sure exactly how that function will work. But a little bit about the downside of generative AI. There's something called the alignment problem. There's a lot of legal risks. There's of course an impact to cognitive jobs, where there's a lot of worry about fake news with AI and democracy. Who gets to access it, right? ChatGPT 4, you have to pay $20 a month, and the overall impact on humanity. So a lot of legal risks, right? Who owns? So a lot of all these data were scraped, right, from websites, and no one was paid for that data, and the people that had the data taken are like, well, what the heck? It's then generating content from that data, and who owns that? That's generated content. That's another question. Putting customer data into it is another legal risks. If you hire me as a marketing consultant to create a press release for you and I use ChatGPT, can you say like, well, I didn't hire ChatGPT, I hired you, so why am I paying you for this? So lots of legal questions. The alignment problem is I'm trying to get AI to do this, but it goes and does this, right? So it's misaligned with my intent. So for example, in this case, Amazon created an AI tool to hire people just like the people it had already, because they had Amazon thinks that we have great people. I want to hire people just like those people, and so it set the thing up. And it looked at all the people it had hired, and then looked at new incoming candidates, and it started kicking out all the women because it hired Amazon basically primarily had hired women, or excuse me, men. So if it was like, hey, I'm captain of the women's chess club, it's like, boop, you got kicked out. Right, so obviously they shut that thing down, but that's an alignment problem, right? It doesn't do what you wanted it to do. And there's something called a paperclip maximizer issue. So it's an AI meme or idea where you set something up to build paperclips at the most economical cost, and you prioritize environmental protection. And decides that, hey, I can do that, and the best way I can, create the minimal number of paper clips for human needs is by eliminating humans, right? So that's the question is like, how do you make sure it does what it is you want it to do? And they have not solved the alignment problem. And there's something called the Moloch trap. This was created the idea of this was started by a guy named Scott Alexander, who writes Astral Codex. And Moloch was an ancient Canaanite god of child sacrifice. This is going to get dark here, folks, just so you know. And so the Moloch trap is where everyone's trying to optimize for themselves, but in the end, hurts humanity, right? So you can think of it, one example that they always give is climate change, right? No country wants to go, follow the climate change path. They want everyone else to do it, and so everyone optimizes for themselves. The same thing with AI firms and AI, right? It's like, how do I want to be the first to AI, and so as this AI race begins, then like, okay, we're all in this Moloch trap. If I don't participate, then I am at a disadvantage. And OpenAI has basically realized that, right? So their goal is to create artificial general intelligence that can basically do everything that humanity can do, but that benefits us. They now want to go to super intelligence, so they want to do something called super alignment to make sure that the super intelligence doesn't wipe out humans. And basically they said, but we don't have a solution for that yet. So they're working on it. They've devoted a lot of money to it. But at the same time that they're racing towards creating AI, they realize they don't have the alignment problem fixed, right? So I'll skip that part. And so when you look at this, it's really splitting. This is how Altman got fired. There's people that want to slow down, or there's people that are very concerned about it as you go to the far right, and there are people who also want to speed it up. And so the upper left are called effective accelerationists. They think AI will benefit humanity, so they want to go full speed. In the lower right are people who are worried about it, which are called effective altruists. And that was what the board was composed of, and that's why they fired Altman, who was an effective accelerationist. But basically, if you're in the lower right, you want to slow this thing down until we figure out alignment, and if you're in the upper left, you think, no, you don't have to figure out alignment, I want to go as fast as I can. And some of them actually are the belief of, well, if AI replaces humanity, that's okay, because it's a higher life form than humanity.